I would love to introduce my friend, Lisa Villasenor, and she has agreed to come on with me this morning on this Q&A and just talk about family relationships. And family and relationships are both of high value to us. We talk about that on our walks often, about how time and relationships just fill us up, especially the right ones. So Lisa, where do you work? What's your title? And then we'll move on to relationships.
Well, first of all, good morning, Gail. Thank you for having me join you today. I was really honored, and you are one of my favorite people, and what you do is so amazing. So I'm really excited for this morning. My name is Lisa Villasenor, and I am a project executive with Universal Pictures for the Jurassic World franchise. So I'm a marketing consultant working on big brands in entertainment.
Thank you for that. Thank you for
Sure.
that. What I love about, first of all, you're my person. You're totally my person. And
Yeah.
when we walk, often we focus on the value of relationships and time. And when I first met you, when I moved to Vegas 7 years ago, and you moved here from California around the same time,
Right.
and you were newly married.
Yep.
And you have a family
Yep.
from that marriage. You have 2 sons.
Yes.
And I remember I ran the Kolbe Index on your kids and your husband and you. And we sat together all those years ago and we talked about it. And I'm not so interested in the verbiage of what Kolbe says, but throughout our time together, we've also hashed out some situations and scenarios using that concept.
Absolutely.
Right? And so starting with yourself, I would like to know what kind of freedom that you have experienced or what kind of aha moments. And I know there have been many.
Yeah.
A feeling is what I'm interested in with yourself starting after you found out about all this.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much, and there's so much to unpack and so much benefit. But first of all, I remember the day that we really got to meet just casually sitting by a poolside, and you told me what you did. And I was absolutely fascinated. And I just remember just feeling this high energy of excitement, mainly first and foremost for myself. So because I was in a transitional period, I had just moved to Las Vegas. I had very few friends. You became and are still my closest friend here. And I was just in a transition on how that was going to work for not only my personal life, but also my professional life and what that would look like. And when you told me, I immediately wanted to do the Kolbe Index. And I can remember our first appointment. I specifically remember that the best thing that you taught me right out of the gate was you sat down and you said, all of us operate differently. We all are hardwired. We all have our MO. And guess what? None of them are wrong. The way you operate is right. It's right for you. And it doesn't change. People can grow and people can change. And I don't know why, but knowing that has set me free in so many ways, because I can look back and I can say, I think sometimes with personal growth, I think I'm doing things wrong. And I think I wish I could discover the secret on being more organized or really diving in and knowing all the details. And you opened my eyes to knowing that the way I work and the way I process information and the way I function in my day-to-day life, whether that's at home or at work, it's okay. And I remember feeling like, I'm okay. And that, as a foundational principle, was so freeing for me, because I think in the past, I've kind of shamed myself because I would compare myself to other people and think, why can't I be more like her? Or why can't I be more like this person over here? And I don't have to be, and I'm not wired that way, and it's okay. So that was the big aha moment. That was step one for me, is how I operate is okay. And then from there, we started diving in a little bit more. And I just got so many tips and tools that I still refer to for myself and for my family that help me, first of all, literally give myself permission and give myself self-love and awareness that I'm trying to operate outside my lane and how my family operates. So that was the first thing, is that we all operate differently, and it's okay. There's not one way that's right or wrong. And that was
Can you feel it when you're trying to do something that's not true to you?
100%. And I still have to work on this almost daily, I have to
Right.
say, daily, because we all, I think, I don't want to assume for myself, I start having feelings of insecurity or that I'm not doing something right. And if I really take a minute to process what I'm thinking, I'm realizing that I'm trying to do it in a way that doesn't come naturally to me, or that I've set such high expectations of perfectionism that I'm just frozen. And one of the tools, again, I can talk, as you know, for hours about what I've learned, is one of the tools, and I literally implemented it 5 minutes ago with a girlfriend to say, I really did, is you have taught me, Lisa, you operate best when you have a deadline. So I'm talking about work or even a personal project I want to do at the house or whatnot. And set a timer and give yourself, sit down and focus on it for 20 minutes or an hour, whatever that period is going to be. And I know that if I'm trying to be perfect, I'll struggle on a task for hours. And I have to remind myself, okay, I'm not being functional. I'm not being productive. That's the word I was looking for. I'm not achieving anything. Set it down, give yourself a break, and come back to it. So it's tools like that, Gail, that seem so simplistic if you just say it, like set a timer. But it really is really practical and simple, but so it's been so beneficial for me. Because the minute I start feeling frustrated, I'll remember that as an example of one tool that you've taught me, is that's how I operate. And when I compare on how other people operate, I get really frustrated because I think I should be operating that way and I don't. So I don't have to. And I go back to my way is okay and it's perfectly right. And especially in my family, I also know that the way they operate is not the way I operate. And it gives me a sense of a filter when I'm getting frustrated in a moment, maybe to go, okay, wait, they need more time, or I make quick decisions and they need more time to process. So I think it gives me a little bit more empathy and compassion for people when I start feeling frustrated and triggered.
You brought up a really good point that I want to go to. You brought up a point of, basically, I call it like looking to the left or to the right, like comparing it. And I find it fascinating. How many times have we talked about this? It's almost like a muscle. I mean, isn't it? It seems like a muscle. And I've done this legally for 7 years now since we've moved here. And it is a muscle, like you said, a daily reminder of how you work. And I have a piece of jewelry that I wear, and I have to, with what's going on with my work and everything, I check myself constantly. And it's amazing how you're right. When you look to the left or to the right and see what other people are doing, and then you're like, wait a minute. But before this, I never would have said, wait a minute. I would have just gone after what I thought was the right thing to do.
That's right.
And I did not use my natural filter. And I'm practicing that too. We're not done. This is like a practice. It's not a perfect.
That's right.
It seems like it's like a little bit. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Sometimes it just doesn't appear, but the feeling that we get when we're going against our grain is hard. Yeah, it's really like swimming upstream, and that helps me recognize to use my filter.
100%. And you use the analogy of swimming upstream. That's exactly right. When you are out of your lane and you're
Yeah.
looking to the left or the right, first of all, to compare is to despair. It really
Yeah.
is true.
Right.
And if you look to the left or the right, you're having to swim, to use that analogy, and work really hard. And it just isn't coming naturally. And eventually you are going to sink or drown if you don't just stay in your lane. And sometimes we forget and we have to backpedal a little bit. But honestly, when you can know what how you work, how you
Right.
operate, what's true for you, you get in the flow. And it is a daily practice. I mean, a daily practice,
Right.
because we can get triggered by something. And if you just take a minute to remember, okay, wait, I don't have to look at that. I have to just stay here. I'm triggered and I need to take a break, or I need to step away and I need to remember the tools. Then
Right. Right.
you work so much better in flow. Everything just works better and you're more productive. The odd part is I can get more done
Yeah.
knowing how I operate and be more successful in less amount of time than I ever have been. And that's true when I really function in the way that my MO does for me. I
Right.
can do so much more. And I can also feel immediately if I'm not operating how I do, because I feel stressed and tense. And then what I do is I shut down and I stop, I freeze, then I'm not productive at all. So you and I have talked even professionally about how I can get so much more done in 4 hours than I ever did at 8 or 10 or 12 when I was younger. And it's such a freedom, but it's a practice every day.
Isn't that true?
Yeah.
And tell me, like, so, I say it's not done cooking yet. Like, it's
Yeah.
not done cooking yet. I have that phrase that I use. And that's because if it's not under crisis or pressure for you and I, if it's not
Hmm.
on deadline, we won't do it.
That's right.
So for me, that's relieved some of the stress of if I'm not doing it, I don't beat myself up. I'm like, it's just not done cooking yet.
Gail, you in my life personally, you are such a good reminder to me for that tool,
Right.
because if it's not, I do work better under pressure, and I
Right.
do work better when I have a million things to do versus one.
Right.
If I have one and there's not a real deadline, I will kick that can down the street for days. And then I get, oh gosh, now I really need to do it. There's a real deadline attached to it. And before, I beat myself up for that. I was like,
Right.
why am I such a procrastinator?
Yeah.
I suck. And the self-talk that I was doing and the shaming that I wasn't even really aware of before we started doing this work was revolutionary to me. To be
Hmm.
like, no, it's okay if I give myself a shorter window of time to do it, because that's how I work better.
Hmm.
And you remind me of that. Or even in making a decision, I apply that. If it's a big decision about maybe something we want to do or at work, um, it's okay that I'm really good at making gut decisions, because that's
Right.
also how I'm wired.
Right.
But if I'm not ready to make a decision, it's not time. It's not ready. So that's been great.
So true.
That's a
Agreed. I also get a huge kick out of the fact that you and I we have similar MOs. We work
Yep.
very similarly, and we're married to people
Yeah.
that have very similar MOs.
And very different from our own.
Very different from our own. They
Yeah.
are similar, but what is amazing about our husbands is we obviously love and adore them
Yes.
very much. And
Yes.
when I found this out about Swifty when we got married in 1997, I kind of ignored it. I ignored
Mm.
it because we were doing our own thing. We didn't have kids. We were living in the house, kind of just
Yep.
still dinks, and I didn't need to concern myself with how he worked. It wasn't until I had kids that I really had to look at the whole family. And I know that when we talk about this quite a bit with our husbands, they're different and they need time to decide and they need
Yes.
time to process. And they're both very detail driven. And
Hmm.
so for me, as far as a relationship goes, because this is important. Marriage, and a good marriage, is important to both of us.
Yes.
Giving our spouses grace and time for how they need to solve a problem is equally as important as giving ourselves grace and time for ourselves and our problems. And so I know I can think of some specific examples with Swifty of how I've seen this play out. But are there any examples that you have with you and Mike about how you've seen his MO and your MO come to a point and you're like, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
He needs time. And tell us about that.
This is honestly the hugest revelation in my marriage, but also as a new mother. I mean, I became a stepmom to two young boys that were 10 and 12 years old, 6 years ago. So now they're 18 and 20. But this was where it was game changer for me in all of my family relationships with my husband, because he does process differently. And before I understood the context of the science behind the practical knowledge that you taught me through Kolbe, I just thought, oh, we were different. And I was newly married. So Mike needs a lot of the information in order to make a decision. He loves to research something. So he needs to look at all of his options very thoroughly, make detailed lists. He feels he takes a lot of satisfaction and about ticking off things on a list. The longer the list, the more value. And I understand that because I like lists too. But whether that's, I'll give you an example. When we were dating and engaged and planning our wedding, as just one idea that popped into my mind, I need a hard deadline. And so when we had a long engagement, we had a year engagement. And so he wanted to start putting together the list of everything that we needed to do. And a thorough list and deep detail started to overwhelm me. Everything from the invitation list and getting the RSVP or the hold the date out, all of the details. I thought, well, gosh, we don't even have to send the invitation until January.
Was he including you on those details, or was he just doing it himself?
He was including me.
Oh.
So we would try to plan together on a big event. Okay. And we plan differently. So I like to do 30,000 foot.
Yep.
And when I'm going to even research to make a decision, I don't like to research. I'm the girl that opens up something that needs directions or IKEA, and I am not tactical. I don't like to build. I don't like to read instructions. I try to figure it out quickly, or I ask somebody to help me. Like, I'm just like, can you help me put this thing together? Mike likes to figure it out. So if there's something in the house that might break or something, my instinct, especially when I was single, I was like, I'm going to call a handyman because I have no clue. I'm not even going to try to figure out how to fix the washing machine or whatever it is. But Mike really gets satisfaction, and he's so good at it. He really is. He'll say, no, I want to figure this out. And he'll spend hours researching. And he, in many cases, can figure it out, where I'm not, and then I would place a judgment on that. Going back to, if you're not in your lane, I would place judgment on me that I was lazy and that I didn't do thorough research and I didn't make well-informed decisions. And somehow I would turn it on me that I wasn't doing it right because we did things so differently. And when we started working together, it was like, not only did I realize, oh, we really do operate differently. It is how we are hardwired. I mean, when I talk about Kolbe, that's how I tell people. It's like, we're hardwired. People can grow and change, but the way we operate, it really doesn't change.
Go back I want to keep going. I want to go back to the list about the wedding too. I want to hear what happened.
So we finally got to a place where I had to have a conversation with him and just say, listen, I felt so much pressure and tension about how he needed to do it and how I needed to do it. So we finally had to divide and conquer. And it was, I think, around that time, is that maybe when we had met? But when we have a big decision like the wedding, I think we divide and conquer. Like, that was the biggest thing, is like, if there's a task that needs research, as just an example, Go research this category for me and come back and give me the top three. And then I'm going to make not a quick decision, but I'm going to look at that and I can decide relatively quickly.
Right.
And for me, we're planning a trip right now. This is real time. I have found that I do a little bit more research, but I still don't want the details. And when I start operating the way he might, I start feeling seriously, I feel tension. Like and I get to communicate to him, okay, that's enough for today. I'm getting overwhelmed because
nice.
I don't want to research all of the potential places we could go in the world. I can't do it that to the depth that he wants to do it. And I found that I was getting frustrated. Like, oh my God, it takes him so long. Like, why are we doing this? And I'd be like, come on, chop, chop. And I realized that I was a hypocrite on some level because I was trying to make him work how I operate. So I think what I try to do better job of now is realize we both function and operate differently. And it's okay. If he needs to do a lot of the research, I'll say, you know what, honey, why don't you go research whatever the task is? Because you're so good at it. He really is. Yes. And he's really good at it. And I admire it. I really do admire his depth of knowledge and his like tenacity to figure things out. I've come to admire it and not get frustrated by it and say, why don't you come back to me when you have your top three and then we can make a decision together. And that way we're not trying to either do it his way or my way and feeling frustrated. Because if on the flip side, if we have a decision to make, I'll just say, hey, let's do this. And he'll want more information. Well, why did you make that choice? And I'm like, well, I just felt like it was the right thing. I looked at a couple things. I made this decision. And he will trust me in that. But if it's a big decision, and there are big decisions in parenting and finances and things like that, we've found a much better way to communicate and let each other do each other's process. And I don't try to get embroiled in his process because if I do, I realize that I'm trying to operate the way he does and I don't. I have to take a step back and vice versa. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's
of course it makes absolutely it makes sense. Yeah, and then so with you and the details, similar to me, I'm like, yeah, you can handle that. That you do a great job, and you need the details, and I don't need as many details. And I recognize that when I pressure Swifty, if I'm in a hurry,
yes,
he gets the same way.
That's right.
He gets the same way. And then I realize that's a me problem.
That's right.
And not
no, that's true.
A him problem because I need things quickly and not everyone else does. And another way that I see it, this is funny. I don't know if I told you this, when we have our financial meeting on Saturday morning, and if there's a situation or a problem, like he'll dig into it online when I would just pick up the phone.
That's right. 100%.
Take care of it in like a minute. And
100.
And I'm sitting there with him. So.
No, Gail, that's such a good example because that is that's me. I don't want to research. I'm like, let's just call the office and ask the questions. I want a human being. I want connection. I want to have the conversation. I like that. I need that human connection. I don't want to research. And you said something really important though, because if you're in your financial meeting and he needs to go into the detail and because it's also reassuring to him and that's how he processes the information and it's an important topic and it's supporting your family and your livelihood. So it's important to him. I think I can now recognize better when I'm literally in my head going, oh, come on.
Yes.
And I give Mike grace or whoever that person is. I give grace like, okay, they need a little bit more time and that's okay. Like, okay. Right. And sometimes you can even give them the grace of, you know what, if you're still processing, that's okay. Just come back to it. And that is huge because I need that on some level on deeper emotional things that happen. I'm learning to recognize, okay, don't make a quick decision and say something you're going to regret. Take a minute and take a step back and process a little bit more and then come back to it. So,
and it's because our energy, our conative energy, when emotions are heightened, it takes us out of our flow.
yes.
When there's like fear, substances, or heightened emotions, we're not in our flow.
Yeah.
So that's super smart. And I'm so thankful and appreciative that this tool has given me a place to put that frustration and recognizing that that's a me issue and I can calm down. And I love that. I'm like, okay, this is just simply a difference of how we solve problems. That's it.
That's right.
That's it. That's flat out. And that's just fine, right? We've established that that's just the way it is.
Right, because we don't focus on it anymore. It's
Right.
not like, oh my God, this drives me crazy.
Right.
It's not a
Right.
character flaw.
No.
Like our husbands
You're
are
right.
incredible men. It's not a
Right.
character issue. It's how they process information. So it
Right.
saves a lot of frustration. So you're not focusing on the frustration,
Right.
Anytime
Right.
we need to make a decision, blah, blah, blah. No, that's a me issue, like you say.
Yes.
Don't. You give people grace, and especially, and I'm sure we're going to dig into it, but for our family, realizing ironically that Mike and Camden are wired very much the same. They have the very similar MO, and Connor and I are very similar. And knowing how we're all kind of wired has been an incredible tool for our family, especially in parenting and giving the kids grace to operate the way that they want. That was a whole game changer to me as a new parent of older kids. So I think the awareness is so critical. I think it's unlike anything that I have known previously, whether that was through my faith or counseling or just being what I think is a good communicator. But having this as a framework has given me more patience and grace in how I parent, and hopefully as a wife too. So
all of it. Let's go there.
Yeah.
And let's go there. Let's go there with the relationship piece. And there's a word that we use all the time, you and I. And we know how important this is. And it is the care factor or motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Motivation is the word. And as parents and seeing how kids are motivated and what they're motivated with, doesn't always add up to what motivates us for them.
Oh gosh, no, not at all. That's right.
And if I could just give them a cup of what motivates me for them and they could drink it and we could just go from there, but they are also just as capable and individually wired as we are.
Yeah. And Gail, it's going back almost to that realization that we all operate differently and you stay in your lane and don't look to the left or the right. The game changer is when you apply that to your kids. At first, it wasn't instinctual to me. I was like, no. I look around and I'm like, oh my gosh, again, to compare is to despair. I look at families, your own, you have two incredible boys. And I'm like, not that they were better or doing things better than Mike and I and our boys, but I'm like, you want the best for your kids and you have this vision, I finally was a mom and I had these two incredible young boys and I just want the world for them. And so I know how I was raised. I see how my sisters are raising their kids. And I'm like, okay, well, that's the model. And it doesn't work that way. And I can't tell you how much our relationships improved with the boys, both individually, Mike, and with Connor and Camden and me. It gave me a way of thinking, not a structure. It's the anti-structure. It is understanding how they operate and leaning into that. And it was this, again, it gave me tools and a framework to think. And it's really still challenges me even as they're getting older. And you're so great to remind me that they're gonna do their things their way. And if I give the freedom to do that, even when it triggers me, because it's like, that's not how I would do it. And I think that's wrong. It's a shift in my thinking. It's not wrong. It's how they're going to do it. And the other word beyond motivation, and this is, they're tied, I think, in my brain, that we talk a lot about, that's been amazing for me, is decide.
Yes.
What are they going to decide to do? Because I may think that this is the one way, the right way, the best way. And I could have prolific words of wisdom from experience, and it doesn't matter. I realize it's like, I'm not there to just encourage and love the boys. I'm there to love and encourage them in the way they are going to work and how they're going to decide to do. And at first it was almost like, really, aren't we supposed to guide our kids? And of course we are. Of course we are. We're there to support and guide. But it could be as simple, it's not simple, but it's school. Camden is very structured. He's very disciplined. He does homework in advance of when it's due. I mean, he's very focused and really driven and gets it done before it's even due, like I said. Connor, on the other hand, doesn't operate that way. He works best a little bit more like me under pressure with like it has to be a real deadline. So I call him my pitch hitter, and he always steps in at the last minute. And when he decides, because there's a deadline or a consequence, that's when he kicks in. And so early on, it could become frustrating on either side of that. And working with you has allowed me to go, it's okay. It's not how they operate. And I saw what it did when two people operate differently, especially when it's a parent and a child. It can be very frustrating because as a parent, I think it's my job as a parent to guide them and do it the right way. I'm there to guide and support, but then I'm reminding myself, he doesn't operate like I do, and it's okay. If he decides to do it, that's going to be the right time and he's going to get it done. So
I think you do an amazing job of asking questions. You do.
I think that's something you taught me, Gail.
Really? Because you ask a lot of questions. Good questions.
I thank you.
Yes.
Because it's something I want to become more aware of. My hope is that I can listen well, but I have to say, working with you and our walks and our talks and our connection, I think that I tend to have a belief of what I want for them. The end desire of my sons is to be healthy, happy, joy-filled, good, kind men. Nowhere in there is that what they do, how much money they make, how they do it. That's ultimately what we all want. And to live successful lives in sense of who they are as young men, right? But I think early days and even today, I tend to want to encourage them from the place of what I've gone through, and I might think I have the answer and say, this is what you should do, or here, have you thought about doing this? And it's really still hard for me, if I want to connect with them or have a conversation with them, to remember to start with a question. And here's another Gail word that you've taught me, and I keep it: be curious. Be curious and ask questions, because I think I tend to lecture, or not lecture, but just try to solve the problem for them versus asking questions. So I appreciate you saying I'm asking questions, but I'm working on it because I don't think it's my natural form of communicating. I don't know. But it's so important.
I have asked imposing questions to steer them in a particular direction.
But that's smart. If it could be effective, is I guess.
Or it could be,
Is it fair?
or is it my own agenda? Is it my agenda? Like, I've done that too. I think that's normal human stuff, right?
Yeah.
Normal human stuff. And it's hard. It's hard because you're like, I could bypass so much pain for you.
Yeah. That's really hard.
It is.
But until they decide.
Right.
And until they meaning any of us, really, not just our kids, but until any of us make a decision and decide, nobody can make you do something. It's in your own time, in your own way. And you have to make that decision. I mean, we can encourage, we can guide, but we have to decide. That was big.
In this time that we've been talking, and we've talked about you, we've talked about your husband, we've talked about your kids, and we've used big words like deciding. I mean, we have deciding, making a decision is not a task. It is a commitment. And there is a finite amount of this energy that we have every day. And it's important that we choose how to use it wisely, because no matter what we're deciding and who we're working with, we're using our energy. And so I appreciate you and I on the journey together in this. I appreciate the fact that this isn't something that is done. We don't arrive.
No.
There's no station. We don't arrive at the station. It is a journey, and
it's a process.
We are patient with ourselves on a regular basis, and we're in this together because we believe in the power of a decent and good relationship and giving people the confidence and allowing them to decide what works for them. And that is freedom.
Right.
That's freedom.
That's right.
And when we do that, you and I, with our family members, we are helping everyone be a contributor to the world and not a taker.
100%. And we allow what I've noticed is the more I practice that with our kids, that is when real connection starts to happen, because we're all in flow and I'm not forcing it a certain way. And I'm seeing that now as they're getting older, that if you trust in who they are and how, and all the, all the things that we've instilled in them, but trust them as who they are, to make their own decisions, to operate the way they do, and to be who they are, really, to be free of who they are. I find that they come back to us in a way that really opens the door for real connection and real communication, which ultimately for me is what I want with my kids. And I'm seeing that happen more naturally when I am thinking, because it didn't feel natural for me at first.
Right.
But the more I give them that, I see it coming back in the type of relationship that I want to have with them, especially as they become young adults.
Right. Lisa Villasenor, thank you for being on this podcast. And
thank you,
this
Gail.
Is to be continued in the journey. But thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.